Good morning and welcome to Glenwood Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Mark Manning, and I'm here to help you learn a little bit more about what's coming up on this Sunday's gospel lesson. Pastor Krista will be preaching, and I don't know that she's necessarily going to preach on the gospel lesson, but in it we hear the first mention in our Gospel of Luke of Jesus calling his disciples. And in the text for this coming Sunday, it says that he is at the lake of Gennesaret. Well, I want to talk a little bit about this place called the Lake of Gennesaret in Luke, and move us from just beyond this text, because it's a real place. It's a real place, and a number of people I know from our congregation, we have visited it. I want to tell you a little bit more about it. The Lake of Gennesaret, which is the term that Luke uses for it, is also called the Lake of Tiberias in other times and other sources. And you also hear it referred to as the Sea of Galilee. By now, it might be coming into your mind, yes, this is something in the Bible I have heard about. Well, I want to tell you a little bit more about it. The Lake of Gennesaret, and it's a little uncertain exactly where this term Gennesaret comes from, because only Luke, the author, uses it to refer to this body of water. It is the lowest freshwater lake on the earth. It is 705 to 686 feet below sea level. That's hard to imagine unless you think of Israel and Jordan as having a huge crack in the earth between the two of them, and a valley which runs through it, which is way below sea level, and which contains this lake, the Sea of Galilee, Lake of Gennesaret, at 705 and 686 more or less feet below sea level, and it's the lowest freshwater lake on the earth. At the other end of the Jordan River is the lowest lake on the planet. It's called the Dead Sea, and that is a salt lake. It's not a freshwater lake. It's a salt lake, very, very, very salty. So you have this very curious, very interesting place already, even without Jesus and the disciples who fish and gather there, and Jesus gathers them. It's an interesting place. It's about 13 miles from north to south, and about 8 miles east to west, and at maximum it's 141 feet deep. It's not terribly deep for the size body of water that it is. There are lakes in Minnesota here that are much smaller and much deeper. It's fed primarily through two sources: springs in the adjoining area to the west and north and east, and then from the south, the Jordan River, which flows into the southern end. It is a lake, but it also has marshy and reedy areas to it as well, around the edges. It's referred to as a lake in the Lake Gennesaret and the Lake of Tiberias. But in the other Gospels, in three of the Gospels, it is referred to as a sea. In the Gospels of the Sea of Galilee, in Matthew and Mark and John, they all refer to it as a sea, the Sea of Galilee. So the Gospel of Luke is somewhat unique in this respect. It's partly, as I indicated, partly called the Sea of Galilee because the Romans established a city there on the west side called Tiberias, and so for a time it came to be called the Sea or the Lake of Tiberias. So as we think about it, and we think, wow, Jesus and the disciples were there 2,000 years ago. Many, many thousand years ago, it was still inhabited. In fact, in 1989, archaeologists, when the lake levels were low, underwater on the southern end, they found remains of one of the oldest and first permanent human settlements of the pre-Neolithic time. So we're talking about an area that has seen human habitation, not just in the gospel times, and not just even in the biblical times, but before the biblical times of Israel active in this area. Most recently, this place and this lake has gone through periods of drought. And with drought, a crisis, because the water coming in is from the Dead Sea area, or I shouldn't say the Dead Sea area, the water coming in, because it's so low, the more and more the water sinks and becomes shallower and shallower, the more and more salty and brinish it becomes. And so it's a threat to the types of sea life or lake life that live there and such. And it's also a threat because areas and settlements around it because it's freshwater, use it for their source of water. And so it's a threat to them when the lake levels go down. And of course, one of the greatest things about this lake is its tourism. I visited there with a group of pastors back in 2008, and it was amazing to be there. I would encourage you to go online and look up and see the pictures of it. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, striking. And if you see it, you'll get a little idea what I've been talking about. But if you ever get a chance to travel there, you have an even finer sense. Ecologically, there are 10 different families of fish, 27 different species. It is a place where it's a fishery. There are still fishermen there, just like the disciples. It's also a wonderful place for bird life, not only because it's in a desert area, there are birds that flock to this area, and also many, many birds that migrate through this area. Well, when you hear this lesson this weekend about Jesus calling his disciples, it's not just a story. It's a real place, and it still is a real place for those of us who like to put rocks and water under their feet or through their fingers of faith. God bless you as you